Yeah, so let's start. The first, not question, but topic would be,
Yeah.
not caring about others' opinions. And, because I think a lot of people don't do stuff because they don't want to be seen as, a failure to other people. Or,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, actually, if you listen to Gary Vaynerchuk's podcast, he
Mhm.
also, yeah, he always talks about that.
Yeah, I mean, he talks about that quite a lot. I think caring what others think, it really depends where you come from. I think that plays a very big role, and probably plays a bigger role than
Yeah.
we might think it does. Because if you come from a culture where it's very,
Hmm.
let's say, dependent upon society, societal norms, societal, benefits, and what your cousins think about you, what your neighbors think about you, what your dad's friend or mom's friend thinks about you, then it can play a big role. Being like, all right, I don't want to be seen as a failure. I don't want to be seen like a guy who started something and and then
Yeah.
failed too early because they might think that I'm not capable of doing this.
Hmm.
Uh, I think that's what really plays a big role, but also in a way, I believe a lot has to do with who you surround yourself with as well.
Yeah, and your life aspirations too. Um,
Yes. Yeah.
so if what you're trying to do is, if you don't really believe in it, you're not gonna do it. I just think, dude, I think our brains.
I mean, our brains are really what kind of, in a way, makes us think, right? Obviously. But a lot of things too come from let's say, the heart, or things that we don't know uh, that where they come from. And a lot of it, we've talked about this together before. A lot of it comes because of subconscious mind, right? So
Mhm,
I want to take like an example. Let's say I want to start a business, and I
mhm.
might not be caring about failing. I might not be caring about what other people think,
Yeah.
but I might be caring about losing the money if it fails. Right? Now we can say that, of course, money is a commodity; it comes and goes, and all these different things. But I believe that depending where I mean, in what kind of economic situation your family is in, or what you are in, you might really feel like that $500 that you're investing, or the $2,000 you're investing, might be a big deal, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh, and going back to what you said, that if you don't believe in it, then just don't start it. Don't lose money if you really don't believe in it. If you don't really see the growth of whatever you're trying to do, and if you look forward, it's 5 years down the line, you think your business has failed, or probably it's not going to be relevant anymore. Just don't
Hmm.
start it. I mean, the problem
Yeah.
I think a lot of people face, especially if you try to start something at a young age, is all that hype of, oh my god, I'm going to make money, I'm going to be rich if I
Hmm.
start my own.
That's the problem, I think. Yeah. Um,
And it's not that easy. So I
yeah.
think that's where we need to rewire our brains about that.
There's a lot of people that want to start something and they should
Mhm.
really not do it. I think a lot of people are driven by money. They just want to become
Yes.
rich. And if that's your goal in life, I don't think you're gonna make it far, honestly. Like, not being disrespectful to anyone or anything, but uh, I don't think that wanting money. I mean, we all want money, right? And
Obviously, yeah.
money is freedom in some way, but I don't think that should be your goal. Yeah.
I think, I mean, a lot of people get pushed by money because, I mean, I'll be honest. Listen, I'm one of those guys that likes money, right? I love money. But the thing is here, when you think about, when you think too much about money, you can get stressed. Money can be either a positive thing or a very negative thing, right?
Yeah.
Uh, I think the problem that is there, why people love to start a business, because they think of the outcome of making a shit ton of money and being rich and having the mansions, the cars, the Rollses, the Lambos, and all that. I think comes a lot of it comes because of the media, let's say, or the way it is being portrayed throughout the years, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people think, oh, look at that guy. He started the business when he was in his 20s. Now he's like 45. He rides a Lambo. But probably those first 20 years up to 40, he was driving a Ford,
Hmm.
right? But probably in the last 5 years is where the success happened. And now he's driving a Lambo. Like, you never know. That's a problem. and and a lot of it is not explained because people just like to explain the look at me, I'm a millionaire, I'm driving a Lambo, but
Uh-huh.
forget about my backstory, how hard it was, and listen to me. What you should do better. It's just like, yeah, look at the Lambo, you wanna drive this, do this, do that. Like, it's not that straightforward. Like,
Yeah, and also, Mark Zuckerberg. I don't know if Bill Gates, but all this. I mean, I don't know if all of them, but most billionaires, tech, self-made billionaires in that started, companies like Facebook, Google,
yeah,
and this. They don't drive really expensive cars, like, or at least they probably have expensive cars, but those are not their daily ones, that the ones they use daily to go to work. And they drive, like, what you said, Ford, or
yeah.
some of those
Well,
brands. And what?
I'll tell you this. I think so. For example, I was watching once this. I don't know if you watched it. It's called "Inside the Mind of Bill Gates" or "Thinking Like Bill Gates." I think it's on
Yeah,
Netflix or something.
I watched it.
And there you see him driving an S class.
Well,
Now,
yeah.
now, come on. Like an S class is not like a cheap car or a nothing car. It's quite a good, like the luxury car of Mercedes.
Hmm.
Mercedes, but I think what billionaires or multimillionaires get right, it's not about, oh my god, they have too much money and they can buy everything they don't want to buy. Sure, it can be that, but I think a lot of it is because they understand that all those materialistic things are nothing. And when it comes to a daily driver, let's say take example of a car, instead of me, let's say, driving a Rolls Royce every day or a Bugatti or Lambo every day, I rather drive, let's say a Tesla, for example, or just a normal car that doesn't
Hmm.
spend too much gas. Why? Because come on, like gas is a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
Now, yes, some people might think about the planet, might think about the future, but if you really cut it down, what a business is, what a business does is how much money comes in, what are the expenses, and what's the profit. There's a lot more things to it, but to make it simple, let's say it's a three-step process to make it very simple when it comes to the bottom line. And that's how it is with your own things that you buy. Now,
Hmm.
don't forget, a car depreciates, right? If you buy a
Yeah.
car, it is 300,000. The moment you ride it out the door,
Hmm.
50,000 is gone
Yep.
right away out the gate. And then all the gas, all the things you have to pay, it's not fun. Nobody wants to pay $300 every day for gas, or like every other day or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, where they get it right. They understand how money works, rather than trying to show people, hey, look, I have a Lambo, I'm driving downtown San Francisco or Los Angeles or whatever it might be.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was thinking, oh, they probably do it for climate change as well, but that's not everyone's top priority. And yeah, I think, yeah. Also,
Also,
you what?
don't forget, sorry, a lot of people are also quite, let's say, hypocrites, right? Like we got to put that in there, because a lot of people can be like, oh my God, yes, I care about the environment. Let me buy a Tesla. But then probably they don't really care at all what clothes are they buying from Gucci or Louis Vuitton. Let's say
Hmm.
the leather doing this, or
Yep.
sweatshops or whatever, right? So a lot of it can also be hypocritical, trying to look like, yes, I do care about the planet. Yes, I'm forward looking person. But then you're doing, let's say, when it comes to social causes, you're probably doing nothing good. All you're doing is buying more cars or more houses. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, I'm not saying everybody should be a donator. It all comes with
Yeah.
personal things, but
It's,
a lot of hypocrites are out there to say.
yeah, and now that you mentioned donations and donating money, I've heard, like, somewhere, maybe in social media or somewhere, that people want the companies that are developing the COVID-19 vaccines to sell them at cost. And I don't think that's right either, because there has to be a stimulus, something that makes them develop it. And they need to make profit out of it too. Well, what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I think the pharmaceutical industry in general, and drug developments, we're talking about these type of drugs like vaccinations,
Yeah.
they're highly profitable no matter what. selling them at cost, that means you're gonna be probably buying an ibuprofen for 20 cents, right? Because most likely that's what I'm not sure. I haven't really done enough research on how much it costs, but it's around, let's say, probably less than $5, right? And you
Yeah.
go to a store and buy that for 7, for 8, for 10, whatever it is. You're probably buying it for double whatever it costed.
Well, the the R&D for those drugs is probably
Yeah,
really really
of
high.
course,
So
of course. But I think it's here, right? I mean, it's a market, first of all, that I'm not too familiar with, but my opinion goes like this. Let's say when it comes to something like vaccination of COVID, if you put it at cost, now there's two things to it. Let's look at it from the side of the person who's getting vaccinated, like of us, let's say patients.
yeah.
One thing is, if it's too cheap, I'm gonna think it's fake. I'm gonna think there's some problems with it. Probably it
Hmm.
wasn't developed in time. Probably doesn't have the right, drugs in it, the right anything that it has to have inside to make me feel better.
Yeah.
And secondly, that is why, because of the psychological thing we have, we associate something that is more expensive with higher quality and better quality.
Hmm.
And also depending how highly available they are, right? Demand and supply, the basics of economics. But now, if you look at it at the side of a company, why is if I sell it at cost? That means I'm going to be breaking even for everything that I sell, and that really there's no beneficial to me. Like as a business, like yes, I'm helping people, I'm doing something good, but as a business, I'm not doing anything.
Yeah. And
Because as you said, all the cost of R&D and this and that is what is probably way more. If I
mhm.
sell it a profit, now what should that profit be? Should it be a 20% profit? We've seen people in pharmaceuticals who've gone to jail because of increasing their drug prices
Yeah.
overnight or any other things. Um,
Yeah, I think that's the key. The like how much profit they should make.
exactly,
But
exactly. That's the thing. I mean,
there should be a profit for sure.
yes, I mean, definitely. If you look at it aside of
Yeah.
a business, of course. I mean, like, come on, like even non-profits, if we really talk about it, they
They
still
make
do make money and they
yeah.
pay board members or their staff. No, I think it's just a very
It's a not controversial, but it's a
kind
very
of controversial, not really controversial. It all depends how you look at it, right? I mean, let me tell you, when I'm a patient, I need to go buy medicine and I might be low on money. And obviously, I don't want it to be too expensive because I can't afford it,
yeah.
right? And that means that probably if it's for my family or if it's for my significant other or whatever it is, I rather have the money to pay it and rather be kind of lower in price so I can afford it.
Mhm.
But if I'm going to be somebody running a pharmaceuticals company and developing drugs, of course I want to make profit, right? Like, of course I want to make profit. Of course I'm running this business to make money. Of course I'm
Yeah.
running this. Yes, I'm doing good for the people. I'm developing certain things to help people's lives
Hmm.
and do things better. But at the end of the day, a business can't survive unless it's making money,
Yeah.
right? Like, that's the bottom line of it. And let's forget about these companies that we see in Silicon Valley who lose money every year, and they still get back
For
5 billion, 10 billion, 20 billion. But
yeah, they lose money for 10 years and they're still in
come on, like,
business.
and it's still in business. The funny thing is that VCs are making money, which is
Yeah.
like, where's that money the company is losing? Like, I don't get it.
Twitter. I don't know. I don't think. I think that's what I'm gonna say. It's true, but maybe I'm mistaken. They lost money for 10 years, and they started
Yeah,
making profit a couple years ago. Yo, like that's crazy when you think about it. Who wants to be in a business? I mean, yeah, that's probably a long term, but VCs want to make money in the short term, so
yeah, of course.
that doesn't quite. Uh, I don't know. Makes sense to me.
Let me tell you, I have this. There's this guy that I like to listen to. He's an investor. He's in Silicon Valley. He used to be a Facebook executive. Um, I know his name is Chamath, but I don't know his last name. I don't know how to pronounce it. So whoever is listening to this, I'm sorry.
How,
But
how do you spell it?
his first name
Yeah.
Chamath. Um, but he's. I mean,
Okay.
he has a fund or VC, whatever he calls it. It's called social capital, right?
Hmm.
And something that he talks about in a lot of his interviews is how broken the system of Silicon Valley is when it comes to VC funding. Most of the time, he just talks about this, growth, the hyped word growth for all these tech companies that lose money for years and years and years, and they don't become profitable probably never, but they're still in business.
Hmm.
And he says that VCs kind of run a Ponzi scheme in a way, right? This and that. I remember one of the examples he makes is, for example, let's say I'm VCA, you are VCB, right? And we have a company C who's trying to get funds. And they say they approach me. I see that probably they can grow faster or they can do something better. I give them a $20 billion backing at the valuation of now 5 billion, even though the company has no profits whatsoever. And now because I'm pushing them to grow, to get more customers, to get more users, to make more, let's say from 10,000 customers to get 50,000 within a span of 6 months.
Hmm.
Uh, and then I look at my returns because the value of the company has gone up in a way that I don't know how because there's more customers only. And then I'm like, hey, look, I made a 50% return in 6 months. Look at that. That's amazing. And then I call you. I'm like, hey, Roger, you got VCB. Look at this company. It's doing better. Now, can you invest, 5 billion now at an valuation of probably 20 billion? So my valuation has gone up just by you
Hmm.
investing at a later round. And then
Yeah.
that's how I, as a VC, made money, which doesn't really make sense. So that's what he really talks about, and that's what he calls this system that is a broken system because it really doesn't make sense for companies to be so long unprofitable and just focus on growth, growth, growth,
Hmm.
without really having any backing from concrete sales, let's say, or concrete numbers.
Do you think
It's very
that's
weird.
yeah? Go ahead.
No, that was pretty much it. Like it's a weird thing when you really think about it.
Do you think it's a problem to for startups to look at the long term growth? I mean, there should be a long term strategy and goals, but do you think too many startups focus on the long term and not the short term, and that's probably why some of them fail?
Could be, could
Yeah.
be, but I don't know. I think that a lot of people focus on the short term rather than the long term. No, based on what I've seen, right?
Yeah.
Like I might be wrong. Probably a lot of people might not agree with what I have to say, but I mean the way I see it is this: because when people start a business, it's all at hype in the beginning,
Hmm.
right? Like, oh my god, I want to make money. Oh my god, yes, I have a good product. I know there's customer. I know there's customers there. I know there's a market. I don't know where, but I'm gonna figure it out by
Yeah.
investing a lot of money in marketing, right?
Hmm.
The problem comes either a lack of understanding how to organize a business plan before you launch a business, or it just comes because of just the optimism a lot of people have, which optimism obviously is not a bad thing.
Hmm.
uh, and that's, I think, they focus on the short term. Okay, how can I make money within the first 2 years of the business, and then from there on, no problem, I'm going to have these customers, I'm going to retain this customer retention is going to be very high. My acquisition costs are going to be high, but that's okay because they're paying, or still I have people using my product. I think that's where most of them fail. I think that's the problem why a lot of companies fail. Whereas I think if you come into the game with a strategy that you want to be there for the next 20 years
Hmm.
and figure out how can you be there,
Then you're
I
lacking
think there's
the short term one.
you're not really lacking it because let's say the short term, if you're going to focus too much on just acquiring customers and making a lot of sales in the short term, then who else is going to buy that in the long term, right? Yeah, sure. There's a lot of customers there. There's probably a lot of repetitive customers with a lot of this and that. But then, if you're happy just for the short term, where's the rest going? We can look at many things like this. We can look at a lot of tech companies in terms of applications of apps that came there for a short term and then they disappeared. That was gone. The hype was there for a bit and then everything was bye bye.
Hmm.
Or can come at things where it's like, depending if you do a business that is probably requires more capital backing or is doing something, let's say, better to the environment. Let's say if you're running a solar panel company, you can't focus on short term goal because right, like the people psychology is not there yet to adopt solar panels at a high level.
Yeah.
Probably going to adopt that in the next 10 years. So if you start now, you focus how can you make your product better first. Is there a product market fit model or no? Is the product just going to fail when it enters in the market because you have no hedge upon other people that might be out there? How can you compete? How can you not? How highly saturated the market is? How it's not, right? So I think that was what's kind of uh, the core. I think of if you start a business, is how can you be in the game for a long time? What's the longevity? Because honestly, like I'm talking like, I'm a famous or successful businessman. Yes, I haven't started a business. I
Mhm.
want to start a business. I have a notebook of like probably, I don't know, 6, 10 different ideas.
Yeah.
Each one of them is written down. Okay, if I start this company, it has to be like this, like that, like that. But now when I look at it, some of them are like, yeah, sure, this sounds really good. Sounds like there's going to be a lot of hype and probably good feedback. But probably either it's very high cost or either it's going to fail soon because who else is going to buy that in the long run, right? Probably
Mhm.
at some point it's going to be like, yeah, I've had enough of this product. I don't want this anymore. I'll go into the new guy who comes in.
Well,
But then if you look at something that can be there for a bit longer because it's doing something good other than just focusing on the profit, then I think those companies are going to last.
yeah. At the same time, though, making plans for 2 years from now, that's a very long term plan,
Of
and
course.
yeah, so focusing on the long run as well, that might not be the most accurate one, because
Yep.
if you're making plans on a feature that might change later,
Mhm.
that can also affect your business in
Yeah.
a
No,
negative way.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Uh-huh.
And I think it really depends. I think a lot of it also depends what kind of business you're starting, what kind of industry.
Yeah.
Um, because obviously, let's say if I want to start I don't know, a coffee shop, I can just focus. Yeah, in 5 years I'm going to beat Starbucks, right? And then, but I don't have a space yet where I'm going to lease. I don't have coffee beans yet. I don't have a contractor yet where I'm going to get my coffee beans from Panama, from Colombia, from wherever. I don't have any machinery. I don't even know how coffee works, right? So if I focus like that on the long run, I'm already failing,
Yeah.
right? Like if I haven't started anything and I'm focusing on the long run, I'm failing. First, you got to start and figure out the first year or two or the first 6 months. How can you stay in business for the first 6 months or first 12 months? And then focus on long run. But if you're already in business and you've been there for a year or two and you see that things are, probably dropping, going lower, I think you got to focus a bit more on the long run. Be like, right, let's
Yeah.
let's let's do a step back for a second, see why everything is failing, what have we done wrong, and then how can we go back out there and stay for longer.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. But you always have to have a long-term goal, a mission to
Obviously,
accomplish. So
obviously.
you never lose your path.
Mhm.
Your uh-huh.
I don't like the phrase of a business being called as my baby. I really
No.
don't like that. I don't like it because I think I've read this somewhere. I think I've read it on Peter Thiel's book. I'm not too sure. I don't remember. So if I'm quoting him and anybody knows, sorry if I'm plagiarizing. But I think I've read it there. I'm not too sure now. It's been many years since I read that book. Not many years, but a couple of years. Where I think he says that never call your business a baby because you're not trying. Like if you have a baby, your actual biological baby, you don't sell a baby, but you'd sell a business.
Yeah.
So and when you think of that, you're like, true, because I think that's what some people also in a way I guess get wrong. And I'll take a few examples, not a few examples, but I'm a big fan of watching Shark Tank, right?
Mhm.
And there, of course, you have some really good businesses who come in there, some businesses who are not good, or the ideas are just horribly, even though the entrepreneur has too much enthusiasm. I think there is a problem that if you really get so emotionally attached to your business, you're not going to see what you're doing wrong.